قیام سراسری مردم ایران، کنفرانس در دوبلین با شرکت اعضای سنا و پارلمان ایرلند و سخنرانی خانم مریم رجوی. نه به رژیم زنستیز آخوندی، آری به جمهوری دموکراتیک. ایران در آستانه تغییر است. حق مردم ایران برای دفاع از خود و مبارزه آنان برای سرنگونی رژیم را به رسمیت بشناسید. روز چهارشنبه 25 آبان 1401 کنفرانسی از اعضای مجلس نمایندگان و مجلس سنای جمهوری ایرلند از کلیه احزاب سیاسی در دوبلین پایتخت این کشور تحت عنوان قیام سراسری مردم ایران نه به رژیم زنستیز آخوندی، آری به جمهوری دموکراتیک برگزار شد. خانم مریم رجوی رئیس جمهور برگزیده مقاومت ایران در این کنفرانس درباره آخرین تحولات قیام ایران به صورت آنلاین سخنرانی کرد. در این جلسه نمایندگان ارشد پارلمان و سنا از احزاب ائتلاف دولت و احزاب اپوزیسیون و نمایندگان مستقل و وزرای سابق جمهوری ایرلند حضور داشتند و شماری از آنان به سخنرانی پرداختند. منتخبان مردم ایرلند در این جلسه حمایت قاطع خود را از قیام ایران اعلام کردند و شجاعت و پایداری مردم ایران به ویژه زنان قهرمان را ستودند. در میان سخنرانان میتوان از سناتور جری هورکان، سخنگوی اصلاحات قانون سنا، سناتور کاترین نون، نماینده آلن دیلون، جیم هیگینز، معاون سابق در وزارت دفاع و دارایی، سناتور جو اورایلی، معاون سنا در امور مالی و رئیس هیئت ایرلند در شورای اروپا، سناتور ند اوسولیوان، جان پری، وزیر امور خارجه از سال 2011 تا 2014، سناتور شارون کیگان، نماینده پارلمان ماریان هارکین و سناتور بری وارد نام برد. در آغاز این جلسه سناتور جری هورکان از سخنگویان حزب فینافل ضمن خیر مقدم به شرکت کنندگان از خانم مریم رجوی خواست تا سخنان خود را آغاز کند.
A lot of us, I suppose, are wondering about the current situation in Iran, and I think there's nobody better than you, Mrs. Rajavi, to let us know exactly what is the situation and to brief us on where the next steps are, I suppose, for the resistance, for the people who are interested in seeing regime change or a regime change to a democracy. The sooner the better, as far as we're concerned, in Iran. And I just want to thank my colleagues who have joined us, former MEP and Deputy Jim Higgins, Deputy Alan Dillon, former Minister and Deputy John Perry, and former Senator Catherine Noon, who are all here with us today. And I know many other people will be here with us later on. And I really want to now just thank you for interacting with us today in Dublin, in Ireland. And you have the floor. Please go ahead.
Distinguished representatives, I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak with you. Our country is going through a period of transformation. A nationwide uprising for freedom, democracy, human rights, and equality has continued for 2 months. The clerical regime's brutal crackdown with many martyrs and prisoners has failed to stop the uprising. You might have seen some of the horrific scenes of violence and atrocities against young women these days, but they are only a small part of the regime's crimes. In the eyes of Iran's criminal rulers, the crime of these boys and girls is crying out for freedom and equality. This uprising, however, is not an overnight development. In the face of a misogynist regime, Iranian women are the main force for change. For decades, tens of thousands of freedom-loving women have been imprisoned and executed in Iran on political charges. 120,000 men and women have sacrificed their lives in Iran because they believed in freedom. In the summer of 1988 alone, 30,000 political prisoners were massacred. One of the perpetrators of this massacre was Ebrahim Raisi, the regime's current president. Today, in the streets of Iran, people chant, "Death to Khamenei," which shows their desire for regime change. Their other slogan is "Death to the oppressor, be it the Shah or a mullah," expressing their rejection of all forms of dictatorship. They say they look forward to a democratic future, a republic where all people, men and women of any nationality and religion are equal. The Iranian people are determined to establish a democratic republic based on people's vote and the separation of religion and state. We say no to compulsory religion, no to compulsory hijab, and no to a compulsory regime. To achieve this goal, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, a coalition of different political forces, promotes unity for regime change and the establishment of democracy in Iran. The NCRI is the longest lasting political coalition in Iran's modern history. The secret to the NCRI's endurance is its commitment to the principles transparency in its positions and its democratic relations. Dear representatives, Iran is on the brink of change. In addition to suppression inside Iran, the clerical regime spends large amounts of money abroad under different covers in order to try to spread disinformation campaign and lies against the main resistance movement, the PMOI. They want to create this false impression that the mullah's regime has no alternative, but the Iranian people and their organized resistance will bring about change. Today, it is universally accepted that change will not come from within the regime. The only answer is organized resistance inside Iran. To this end, the resistance units have been formed all over Iran. Despite widespread and daily arrests, these units are growing and they are playing a significant role in the continuation of the uprising. In such circumstances, we and our people have three essential demands from the international community. First, to recognize the right of the Iranian people to defend themselves in the struggle for the regime's overthrow and to acknowledge that it is the legitimate and essential right of the rebellious youth in Iran to fight the Revolutionary Guards, IRGC. Two, to shut down the regime's embassies, which pave the way for suppression and killing of Iranian people and to expel the intelligence ministries, agents and mercenaries from Europe. 3, to place the Ministry of Intelligence and the IRGC, Khamenei's main suppressive forces, on the EU and UN terrorist lists. My compatriots have bravely demonstrated their determination to overthrow the clerical regime. They know that no one will hand them freedom on a silver platter. It is time for Western countries to stand on the right side of history. Thank you all very much.
Lovely to see you, Mrs. Rajavi. I think Iran is more in the news than ever, and that's because of the protest movement being led by women. And I'm very proud to see that, that the women are leading the charge in Iran now, and they're putting themselves in personal danger in order to seek to overturn the current regime. I agree with you that the time has come for the international community to listen to the people of Iran and to recognise that a strong majority of the people want and desire change. Like the previous dictatorship, this regime are behaving the exact same way, and they're not representative of the Iranian people. They're oppressors, actually. In 2017, I led an Irish delegation of senators, which included Jerry here beside me, Neil Richmond, Gabriel McFadden, Maria and Michelle Mulhern, for your annual gathering, which is an absolutely huge gathering. You have to be commended for being able to organise such an event. And I met you there for the first times. But in my remarks, I mentioned a motion that had been placed down in the Irish Senate in November 2016, condemning human rights violations and the brutal 1988 massacre of 30,000 political prisoners in Iran. And this motion is even more relevant now than it was then. And, the growing uprising against the regime. And this regime has, the atrocities that are being performed on a daily basis by this regime, it's really quite mind-blowing. And I think it's really time for the international community to stand up. And they have killed over 40 children, according to Amnesty International, and the youngest being 2 years old. I mean, just take a second to register that. That's quite unbelievable. And it is a regime basically declaring war on its own people and women in order to stay in power. And under these circumstances, we in the EU and Ireland must recognise the right of people in Iran to defend themselves and to overthrow the regime, and do what we can as an international community to support you. The EU and Ireland, as well as the entire international community, must take urgent action. I don't feel an urgency or the requisite urgency when it comes to this matter coming from the EU. And as an observer state in the UN Human Rights Council, our government must make sure that the result of the UN Human Rights Council's special session on Iran coming up on the 24th of November is a demand to investigate and prosecute these known perpetrators. So we here will continue to stand with you and the people of Iran until we can celebrate a free Iran.